It's got a million trouble codes in it right now.
Maybe the reason it won't start.
Oh, I know why it won't start. All right, so we're on our way to the ever exciting Bakersfield, California. Going there, we're gonna pick up a motor for that Grand Cherokee we're working on. So we're in the car for hour and a half, 2 hours or so. So we'll catch up with you in a bit. There's not a whole lot to see other than that. 52 miles. Because it looks about like that for 2 hours. All right, so we've made it here. We're gonna pull around here, back in, and throw this thing in the truck, throw a strap on it, and then get out of here. All right, just like that. Motor in the back of the truck. We're gonna pull right over here and punch home into the Nabum Gator. That is a huge salvage yard, huge. I'd like to go play in there for a little while. Maybe I can find something good in there. We didn't film much at the junkyard. The guys there just said, well, you could film, but let us know when you're done and then we'll load the motor. So I got the impression that they would rather us not have the cameras go on there. So I kind of respected their wishes and just motored on. And they told me it didn't have any of the harnesses on it, but it looks like it has all of the motor harnesses on it. It just doesn't have the vehicle harness, which we have. Those are all good. We'll get this thing figured out and get it slammed back in. Tomorrow is a new day. Hey, if you haven't done so yet, click that subscribe button. We put out new content once a week at least, and we want to make sure that you're up to speed with us, following what we're putting out. Thanks for watching.
The next day.
Good morning, guys. We are back in the shop getting things put together. I slept in this morning, lazy. Old Bullet is on the floor. Big Void is hanging out in there. We have got to get that motor we picked up yesterday out of the back of the truck, get it in here, make sure we have all the harness that we need on it. There was some question about whether all the harness was on. I believe everything is there. And then we're gonna try to slam this thing back in. I hope by modifying this bracket right here that we can get enough reduction in height. We might be able to just stuff this thing back in. We did get it out without doing any of that stuff. Out without, that was weird. But I don't know if it's gonna work or not. Supposedly exactly the same engine. That one actually is much cleaner and looks like it's in better shape than this guy. I think we might have to change that pulley. But we're gonna get to work and see what's going on. Be right back with you. All right, let's catch you up on where we're at. Took the upper intake off because you have to, because you can't get enough angle on these stupid things to lift them up. So we've got that. Got our spreader beam attached. Pop's hooking the chain up right now. We'll get the tractor over here and see what kind of destruction we can cause with that. You know how you know you're a mechanic? Every one of your vehicles has something wrong with it and you're working on somebody else's stuff. That's how you know. This one needs tires, shocks blown out on it. This one needs to go to the alignment shop. That one's got an oil leak that probably should be fixed. All right, here we are. Intake is off of it. All in all, it doesn't look too bad. I mean, used motor's used motor, right? So we gotta get cam sensor. We pulled the wrong cam sensor earlier, so I gotta pull that cam sensor off of it, swap it onto this guy, because that one's broke. I'll show you guys right here. We found that that is broke, and we found one little crack in this front piece right here. It doesn't really go to anything, so I might just utilize this one anyway. That crack doesn't affect anything. Either when the donor car got hit, because it got hit right here in this front corner, when it got hit, it pushed something back into it, or you pretty much have to take the intake off of these things to get them out. When the guys put it back on, they over tightened it a little bit, split the plastic. But all in all, looks like it's in good shape. These are all reusable gaskets, so they should be okay. We'll see. guess it is what it is.
We can get to that one. That's clear. That's good. Get it clear.
As it goes down, it's going to get farther away.
Yeah.
As long as we have enough reach. If not, we got to pull it back out, set it on the floor, and then change
Redo everything.
this positioning. So it's got to go your way, because all of this crap has to clear all of this stuff that's over here.
One eternity later.
So the torque converter is bound up. Put it in, we heard it pilot, everything seemed good. Went to borrow the motor over to put the torque converter bolts in it. It's turning the torque converter with the flex plate. So we can't get it to line up. No matter what we do, we can't get the stupid thing to turn loose. So we're taking all the bell housing bolts back loose that we had tightened up to pull things together to see if we can get enough room for the torque converter to come loose. You see, no hat. My hat is over here. It looks like this because I've been laying underneath the car, rubbing my head in the puddle. Pop is working on those 2 bolts that are in the top of the motor that are such a joy to get to. And we're back on that. I'll bring you back in a minute, see what's going on. It's not much fun to see here. Okay. New plan of attack, we're gonna pull the motor back out of it. We cannot get that torque converter to free up in there. It's bound up tight on the flex plate. It seemed like we heard it align, we heard it go in. Everything sounded good, but we can't get the bolt holes to line up. So the only thing we can think of at this point is put the jack back under the transmission, pull the motor back out of it, go through a series of checks and see if we missed something, or I don't know. I didn't see any funky bolts in the flex plate or anything like that, so I'm guessing that it's just an alignment issue, but we'll see. Here we go. You guys caught me eating peanuts. So we pulled the motor out, put the motor back in. Torque converter, apparently when we pulled the motor out the first time, had hung on the crank a little bit and popped it loose from the pump. So when we put it back in, it was in a bind. Good news is the pocket's deep enough that it wasn't a huge problem. I don't think it hurt the pump. It wasn't gnarly bound up. It didn't make any noise. When we pulled it pulled together pretty easy. So pulled it out. I jumped in the engine compartment, spun the converter, clunked it back into spline. So it's all good. I've got a couple bolts in the bottom. Pop's putting the bolts back in the top, and we're gonna try this again. Oh, I did manage to align the, well, look, you guys are dirty. I did manage to align the torque converter with the access hole, which is the starter pocket, and got 2 bolts started in the converter. So we are miles ahead of where we were a little bit ago. Look, we even got grandma to come in the shop. So we are off to the races. It's got a million trouble codes in it right now.
Maybe the renew won't start.
Oh, I know why it won't start. We didn't hook the alternator up. So the motor has no idea who the hell it is. One of the DTCs is alternator field circuit open. And I'm like, what the heck? At that point you get like, you are dumb as a post. You went all that freaking trouble and you didn't hook the freaking alternator up. So it's looking out for the motor and it's like, yeah, I know I'm a motor, but I don't know what I'm hooked to. I'm not real sure. Oh yeah, all this crap's just hanging back here. It's because I make a picture in my head of what should be going on. Whether it is or not, I don't know. World of pure imagination. Just for the record, this would have been much easier to do before I put all this crap back in here. Ah, you dirty dog. I knocked it out. I had it all lined up. I just needed to push it in to click it, and I pushed it just a little bit and it came shooting out. We didn't hook the battery back up. I'm like, huh, that's weird.
Worse than before.
Things are going backwards. Why are things going backwards? We still only have 10.8 volts.
Negatory.
It's almost like it's looking for a sensor that it's not seeing. All right, so here's a story. Like everything else we do, we're gonna do it twice. Pop said, oh, we should put a starter in it. I said, well, they weren't having any problems with a starter. We put it in, just clicks. So we're gonna pull starter out of it, bench test the starter, and then probably put a new starter in it. I'm trying to get things put back together, and we hadn't picked up a starter, so we said, it'll be fine, right? No, it wasn't fine. It was a problem. So now we're gonna put a starter in it. Think we'd learn. It's not how we work. Here we go. All right, let's recap the story. Motor mount, after an hour of fighting with it, is back out. Part of it's in the floor down there. Part of it's on the toolbox over there, but it is out, which means we're now finally down to the point where we can take the starter out. Starter is in there. Yep, Jeep decided to put the starter behind the motor mount, and there's no other way to get it out. There's literally not enough room for the starter to come back. Unlike the motor does come out without the differential coming out, but just barely. This doesn't appear to be anywhere to get there from here because the bolts go from the transmission side. The starter comes out from the front of the motor, and there's wires that are on top of it as well that all have to come out together. All right, so we ran to Napa, got us a startivator. We're gonna check the voltage on the line over here to make sure we're getting the full amount of voltage. Then we're gonna slam this thing back in, and we should be good to go. Let's see what happens. All right, I think we have things buttoned back up. All right.
All the plug-ins are there.
I think so. Let's push the button and see what happens.
Are you parking?
I think so. We'll push that button first and see. Yep, it says it's in park. Ready? It's alive. Stupid. Hey, we're back out in the shop. We are going to get that hood put on this car and get this giant white Buffalo out of here. We got Tyler out to help us put the hood on. We're gonna get this thing packaged out of the shop for a test drive, put skid plates back on it, and then it is out and back to home. So we're gonna get after it. Got some cameras set up. Here we go. Service full drive system. It's full on in limp mode.
Huh?
It's full on in limp mode. It's got a check engine light. My guess is something's not plugged in. High airflow, vacuum leak detected. Ignition coil 5, secondary circuit. Insufficient ionization.
And it may be the one that the clips broke on.
Well, I bet you this right here is the vacuum leak.
Yeah. Well, that's not hooked up.
I would feel
Nope.
sure to say that. Doesn't help.
I almost guarantee that's the vacuum leak.
And number 5 is on 1 through 5 is this one. You can get to it.
And then you gotta take the top of the intake
Yeah,
off.
you got to take that off of it.
So let me clear that code and let it sit here and idle for a minute and see if it was just that it was reading so lean.
Because it's not missing. It no missing.
Takes forever for this stupid thing to read. There we go. Clear fault codes. Yes, clear fault codes. Okay. So it'll have to agree with itself and go into closed loop.
Now that that line's back on.
Well, whenever you start a vehicle, it's in an open loop. So it basically ignores all the sensors until the exhaust temperature comes up to a certain spot and the coolant temperature comes up to a certain spot. And then it goes into closed loop, and then it starts checking all the systems and sensors so that the computer can start modifying the fuel table and all that type of stuff. I bet you it was just so lean because it was sucking so much air that it couldn't help itself.
Number 5 just quit. Yeah,
Well,
I started kicking.
it was just being, that cylinder was so lean it probably was reading
That it was not.
either knock or something on it. Well, I guess let's close the hood and we'll take it for a drive and we'll leave the scanner hooked up to it and see what it does. Christmas tree lights. Are these all normal sounds for it?
Cheap noises, right?
Cheap noise.
Great success.
Successful test drive. No codes, no nothing. I think we're good. The guy that worked on it would just have remembered to plug the vacuum line in. We wouldn't have had a code in the first place.
Does it work? Are you happy to have your car back?
So this is what happens. We take everything apart and then we give it to the kids and tell them they got to put it back together.
It's a lot easier if you would let me take it apart too.
It's kind of like giving them a jigsaw puzzle with no picture on it, just a bunch of pieces.
They got 8 bolts to put in and they've been there an hour.
Not quite an hour, but the conversation's been very entertaining.
Have you ever heard the statement, it's good enough for who it's for?
Hand me your saw or your thing. Yeah, whatever that's called. Brain ain't working.
Careful in this company asking somebody to hand you their thing.
Next time I'll number.
What are you looking for?
1, 2, 3.
This.
The socket that's in your hand.
Color coding with pictures.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.